American Pickers ratings dropped to lowest of season as Mike Wolfe reveals show fired Frank Fritz over his opiate addiction. Ratings have been low compared to previous seasons, as the October 30th episode saw the worst numbers since the premiere. Just 442,000 viewers tuned in for the DIY DeLorean, which saw Mike and Jersey John go hog wild for a 4-generation carny collection, complete with carousel horses, toy tanks, and bumper cars. The premiere episode brought in 565,000 fans as Mike picked through Evel Knievel memorabilia. The second episode of the season, which aired on October 16, brought in just 463,000 viewers, an over 100,000 drop in just 1 week. The third episode of season 26, The Great Rizzoli, saw a bit of a surge with 566,000 viewers tuning in. The ratings for the current season are low compared to season 25. Season 25, which kicked off with a 2-episode premiere in December 2023, brought in 723,000 viewers for the first episode and 676,000 for the second. Episode 3 had 880,000 viewers tune in. By the January 24 episode, ratings surged to 948,000 viewers. The numbers dropped back down through most of February, with the lowest on February 14 having 774,000 viewers, and the highest on February 28 with 966,000. The season finale on March 27 brought in 832,000 viewers. When Frank was on the show, ratings were over 1 million viewers. Frank last appeared on American Pickers in March 2020. He left the series to undergo back surgery. In 2021, Mike revealed he was not returning to the series. Frank told the U.S. Sun during a 2021 interview that he was feuding with his co-star Mike. Frank said at the time, "I haven't talked to Mike in 2 years. He knew my back was messed up, but he didn't call me up and ask how I was doing. That's just how it is." The show is tilted towards him 1,000%. I can't even bend that far down to show you how much. That's fine. It's like you've got Aerosmith, and there's Steven Tyler, and he's the front man. I found my spot, I'm second, and he's number 1 on the show. That's no problem with me. Maybe he does have a problem. Frank then said it would be hard to put the show on after not talking to somebody for 2 years. Frank added, "I'm just trying to get through life like everybody else and be as happy as I possibly can. Life is what you put into it. If you don't put much into." In an interview with People, Mike revealed the reason Frank did not return to the History Channel series. He explained how during the pandemic, Frank injured his back while moving items around his Iowa home and underwent surgery. With that time off and him having surgery, it was like the perfect storm. He became addicted to opioids, and that's when everything changed, Mike said. Mike said he staged an intervention with Frank's loved ones. "I remember running into him like a month later," Mike said. "He said he was just going to handle everything on his own, and I asked him how he was doing. He said, 'I'm fine, I'm fine. No, I'm really fine.' And then like a month later, he was gone." And so watching Frank doing some of the things that he was doing, it was really hard. But Mike claimed Frank continued to struggle with addiction when filming started, as they fought really hard to get him into rehab, and he never, ever gave up on his friend. Mike claimed production asked Frank for negative drug tests, but he didn't provide them. Mike said the network just finally made the decision, despite the star's mixed emotions about doing that. Despite the firing and feud, the two ultimately made up. As Mike said of the reunion, "It was beautiful. He was struggling with addiction. I know how judgmental the public can be. And so that's why when we did end up speaking again, it was so easy for me to forgive him because I knew it wasn't him talking. It was his addiction talking. A source claimed to the U.S. Sun about how Frank's substance abuse battle began. Because of Frank's battle with Crohn's, he was on medication that left his bones weak. When he broke his back, he needed to undergo surgery. That's when he got addicted to pain medication, the insider claimed. Crohn's is a bowel disease that causes inflammation in the digestive tract. The source alleged that Frank went to rehab twice to combat his addiction issues. He got out and then he suffered the stroke, the insider alleged. In the July 2021 interview with the U.S. Sun, Frank revealed he entered treatment for alcohol abuse at the Abbey Center in Bettendorf, Iowa for 77 days. He was sober for 11 months at the time of the interview. But a year later, in July 2022, Frank suffered a stroke at his Iowa farmhouse. Frank's close friends filed a guardianship and conservatorship for him soon after because his decision-making capacity was so impaired. He passed away in hospice on September 30, 2024 at age 60. Mike told People of Frank's final moments, "I got the call that he wasn't doing well. I just feel blessed that I was able to get there. I was there for about an hour before he passed, and I was holding his hand and rubbing his chest when he took his last breath. I took my fingers and I closed his eyes." Mike said of his friend, he was an extremely hard worker. He was like no one I'd ever met in my whole life. He was a beautiful, beautiful person that, to be honest with you, who knows what our lives would have been like if there was never a show. I just want people to know who he was. In the world of reality television, few shows have captured the hearts of viewers quite like American Pickers. The show, which follows expert pickers Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz as they scour the American countryside for rare antiques, hidden treasures, and forgotten relics, has been a staple of the History Channel for over a decade. For years, fans of the show have enjoyed the camaraderie between Wolfe and Fritz, their differing personalities, and their shared passion for discovering unique pieces of history. But recently, something has changed. The latest season of American Pickers has experienced a troubling decline in viewership, with ratings dropping to their lowest point of the season. Fans have been asking why, and the answer might lie in a revelation from none other than Mike Wolfe himself. In a candid interview, Wolfe opened up about the reason for Frank Fritz's sudden departure from the show. Fritz was fired due to his struggle with opiate addiction. For many viewers, the news was a shock. Frank Fritz, the self-proclaimed junkyard dog of the team, was beloved for his quirky, off-the-beaten-path approach to picking. His eye for oddities and his unpolished yet endearing nature made him a fan favorite. But behind the scenes, the reality was far darker. Frank's battle with addiction had been an open secret within the industry for some time. However, it wasn't until Mike Wolfe spoke out that the full scope of the situation was revealed. Wolfe described how, over time, Fritz's addiction had become increasingly difficult to ignore. The pressure of maintaining a public image, the demands of the show, and the toll that the addiction took on Fritz's physical and emotional well-being had all contributed to his downfall. Wolfe explained that while he and the American Pickers team had tried to help Fritz through his struggles, ultimately the decision was made to part ways with him. The announcement sent shockwaves through the fanbase. Many fans were devastated by the news of Fritz's departure, while others were outraged at the decision to fire him rather than offer more support. The subsequent ratings drop can be partially attributed to the loss of Fritz, who had been a key part of the show's dynamic. Without his presence, the show feels different, perhaps too different for longtime fans to accept. The drop in viewership has been particularly pronounced in the wake of the announcement. Prior to the news breaking, American Pickers was enjoying steady ratings. However, following the revelation of Fritz's firing, the show's numbers dipped significantly. Fans who once tuned in religiously now seem to be watching less, and the buzz surrounding the show has dulled considerably. The question many are asking is whether the show can continue without the spark that Fritz brought to the table. The situation is further complicated by the fact that Mike Wolfe has become the center of the storm. As the lead picker and the face of the show, Wolfe has been forced to navigate the fallout from his co-star's departure. In his interview, Wolfe admitted that firing Fritz was a difficult decision, but one that was ultimately necessary for the well-being of the show. He expressed deep sympathy for Fritz's struggles and emphasized that addiction is a complex issue that often requires tough decisions for the greater good. Still, fans are divided. While some support Wolfe's decision, believing that the show must move on in order to thrive, others feel that the heart of American pickers has been ripped out. The chemistry between Wolfe and Fritz was a key part of the show's charm. Their contrasting personalities, Wolfe's calm, methodical approach versus Fritz's more impulsive, offbeat style, created a dynamic that resonated with audiences. Without Fritz, the show risks losing the very essence that made it special.